All right. I think we are live. Happy Monday and welcome everyone to another episode of Milk Minutes. It's brought to you by Healthy Start Center for Urban Breastfeeding, also known as the Cub. And this month, we are so excited to have our very own Ta'Lor Pinkston. She is the senior Moving Beyond Depression clinician and also known as the Heart Advocate. And so today we're going to talk about mental health and self-care. So Ta'Lor, welcome. I am so excited to have you on this month.
Oh, Ashley, thank you. Thank you so much. So glad to be here, glad to be a part, glad to connect and talk about such a very important topic when we're thinking about breastfeeding and how that connects to mental health and self-care.
Yes, it is so important. I think a lot of times when we're thinking about breastfeeding, we don't think about, the full context of how it impacts our lives.
Yeah.
We hope and pray that people have great experiences, but it's just not the case. So this month, we're going to get to talk to, a powerhouse when it comes to mental health and self-care in our community. We are so thankful for the work that you do. So without further ado, we don't want to make this too long. I'm gonna hop into the questions.
Yes.
So we know that for some women, learning to breastfeed can be frustrating and uncomfortable. A little tidbit, I'm currently breastfeeding right now as I'm talking to everyone.
Literally.
But it may also be, difficult, and especially when your baby may be born early or you have certain health problems. So can you just talk about advice that you share with families that you work with when they're approaching these kind of experiences?
Well, first and foremost, I always send my Black and brown moms to the Cub. So there's that. And also, everyone at Healthy Start is very much breastfeeding focused and mindful and encouraging. And so us as a staff I'm always leaning on my coworkers. But I also encourage, when we're thinking about mental health, the importance of self-compassion. And I'll encourage that in anything. And to be clear about what that means, self-compassion is kindness, patience, understanding, gentleness, and forgiveness of self. So I think these are things that are freely given by most of us often to others, their experiences. I mean, literally, someone in your life can be breastfeeding and they call you about their struggles. You're not going to tell them to give up and you don't have this, girl, you're going to fail. Like, that's not how we talk to others when they're experiencing difficult and stressful things. But that's exactly what we do to ourselves, very dismissive, very cruel at times, and impatient with the process.
Yeah.
And as a former breastfeeding mom myself, it's a process. Okay. And it's not something without self-compassion that can be easily navigated through, because you and your baby are changing pretty rapidly over a course of time in postpartum, where you're trying to connect and build, and you don't know what's happening internally to affect milk supply. And so without grace towards self, it can feel really easy to give up. And it's something that, we hear from participants often at Healthy Start, but you also have body autonomy. And so being able to just connect with yourself and say, I'm doing the best that I can really strengthen the entire breastfeeding process when we're thinking about mental health.
Yes, that is so good. And I love your focus on grace, giving yourself the grace that we give so many others, right? And it's important because we're human, we're people. Yes. So that's such good advice. And I'm just thinking about all the nursing mamas, the nursing families who are, going through it. I encourage, if you know someone, to share this episode out with them folks, because Taylor's just, we're going to get such good stuff. So just getting into some of the work you do, you just hosted a self-care workshop. I believe you did some yoga, some mindfulness. Can you tell us about that and how you use those moments to help families who may be postpartum or just managing the demand of being a nursing mom and parent?
I think self-care is important universally. You know, as humans, we all need to take care of mind, body, and soul. There are these nooks and crannies that happen in life where that intention around the care is more required in a sense, because maybe I'm going through a health concern, or, maybe, I'm in postpartum. These things may shift your self-care as well. You may have been doing it one way, and now you're required to do it in a completely different way because that's where you are right now. You're not who you used to be. So
Right.
There's a lot of transition that happens there. And these workshops I facilitate are for different needs, yes, I believe self-care is in every stage. But when I'm specifically talking to prenatal and postpartum moms, when I do cognitive behavioral therapy at Healthy Start, the self-care conversation is different. And the workshop would be different, if I'm working with a group of moms, but it's all related to that mind, body, and soul, well-rounded care and what you need right now. And sometimes that means pushing aside what you would like to do for self-care, because we have these desires and things that we would love to do, things that you might even be grieving and missing out on because you can't do them at this time. But what can you control? What self-care do you need right now? And how can you put more emphasis on focusing on that and giving yourself that nourishment? It's very much an opportunity to talk about the movement and talk about the breathing and the meditation. And so yesterday I was at Rebel Wellness doing a yoga flow. At Healthy Start, we love yoga too. It's just all very much about that connection and understanding, just like self-compassion earlier. It's mind, body, and soul. And so if one is, struggling or needs a little love and strengthening, it may impact the other parts of you. And so I think it's important in physical health spaces and mental health spaces to not just be focusing on one, because it's fully connected. And in your postpartum, we're talking about your breasts. We're talking about a part of you that you are sharing with this new being in your life. And I think it's so important for breastfeeding moms and individuals to know that you matter. And your mental health is a part of your postpartum journey.
Yes, that's so good to just to hear and think about. Nursing is so high sensory,
Yes.
because when you're nursing, you're being squeezed, you're being, it's a lot.
Yes.
And so I think it's that mindfulness of taking that time to center yourself. And I'm due to get into a yoga. It's been a while since we've done a yoga practice
I know we
together.
did do yoga
So
together.
we'll get something on the calendar.
Yes.
So can you share about a time that you worked with a mom or birthing person who is nursing and how they overcame difficult moments in their breastfeeding journey?
I can actually think of a few moms, primarily because I'm blessed to work at Healthy Start. And so a lot of our moms are in a position where they can breastfeed and desire to breastfeed and are choosing breastfeeding for the first time. And, I'm a first time breastfeeder in my family and things like that. So I could say that, there's moms who I have met with in that prenatal period where maybe breastfeeding is a first time situation, or maybe they just don't have the support from their parents, in their lives. And this, I'm about to be a first time, second time mom choosing to breastfeed, but I don't really know what I'm getting myself into. Will I have the support? Will I have the encouragement and the ability for all of us to be able to provide that well-rounded support at Healthy Start, all kind of speaking the same language. So, that repetition, I think these things help in the awareness, which is very important in mental health. We have to be aware of what's happening or not happening, what we want more of or what we need less of. And so that information and education is so important. And seeing the worry that kind of happens with the what if, what if I'm unable to produce enough milk? What if, the baby doesn't latch the way that, is needed. And then sometimes, these things are not talked about prenatally. And then you do experience maybe, a shallow latch or a low milk supply. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give and that I believe in is community. And so places like the Pittsburgh Black Breastfeeding Circle can help you to learn about proper latching. And, there's resources and material that can help you understand that breastfeeding shouldn't hurt. So to see, again, starting from that worry space, where I'm working with moms, and then after, baby is born and postpartum, seeing that worry turn into a proactive, focusing on what I can control in this situation, and choosing to ask for help. And then actually coming out on that other side saying, I learned so much by not giving up on something that I really desired to do, even when it got hard. I think these things are very empowering, which, like mental health can improve greatly when we decrease stress. So things like depression and anxiety start to feel less of a burden. And so, things like seeing yourself succeed can help you feel more accomplished, can reduce your stress, can, increase those endorphins. So you're getting that milk supply the way you want it to be, and those are some successes that I've seen over the 4 years of my time at Healthy Start. And it's because of these, internal and external connections that we have that I think we're able, okay, if this didn't work, well, we have other options. There is a way and a space that you can get the support you need because you desire to breastfeed.
Yes.
And we'll help you figure it out.
Yes. And I think it's the more like we talk about, how families are triumphant, they are succeeding at, something that they thought prenatally, like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. And then the baby comes and you're doing it. And we celebrate all of the wins, the good latch, the baby had the colostrum. Any amount of breast milk is good for our babies. And it's just really important that we encourage that, if you get a week, if you get 2 weeks, if you get 3 weeks, like every moment counts and it's important. So that is, I'm so thankful that, new moms and nursing families have folks like you to support, because that means so much.
It's a privilege. It's an honor. It is.
Yes. So my last question is, can you just share a message for nursing moms, parents, families, supporters of someone who is nursing, the importance of prioritizing self-care, and maybe also how can partners and families support someone to make sure they're getting that time for self-care?
I'll start with the partners and those supporting persons of breastfeeding individuals. Doing things when people don't ask you to do them is some of the most helpful things that you can do for somebody who literally is, in a position where they are taking care and feeding, nourishing a child. And so sometimes it's not about asking someone, do you need help? We know that historically, a lot of Black women especially experience that superhero-like syndrome to not accept the help that's being offered or ask for help. So just like doing things around them that you've seen them do or that you feel like would be helpful can really just go a long way. And for encouragement to those who are struggling with breastfeeding, who are in postpartum first time, who, are getting to that, weaning off phase and things are starting to feel a little like, ooh, I'm ready, but am I ready? Because, that bond and that closeness is something that is so valuable. To know that you matter so much to the lives of everybody in your household, to their well-being. You are the birthing person. You are bringing life into the world. And the more you realize how important you are and how much you matter and how valuable your thoughts and feelings are, the more you will accept that help that is being offered to you, that you will ask for help, that you will rest, give yourself that permission to literally be in this moment. Because there's going to be a time, if you're like me, where your baby is 7 and they don't want nothing to do with none of this no more. You know, it's just like, you know, choose to just lean into this moment and release yourself from anything you can't control and just focus on this very important and intimate time in your life that, you know, you only have one.
And it goes so quick. So yes, that was so good. I'm over here getting chills and just thinking about the families that I know this is touching. So thank you so much for your words. So as we wrap this up, can you share with our audience how they can connect with you, follow your work, and all of the things that you do in the community?
So I'm all over Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I have a TikTok, but I don't really use that. But as the heart advocate, so I have a Facebook page. I'm also on Facebook as Ta'Lor L. Pinkston. So you can follow me there as well. I have a virtual support group called Healing Over Everything on Facebook. That is a free space for 18 and uppers who want to, you know, learn about self-love, mental health, and healing. And of course, you can find me at Healthy Start as the senior clinician doing cognitive behavioral therapy for our prenatal and postpartum moms with depression. So Moving Beyond Depression is the program. And so if you're enrolled in home visiting, this is a space where you can get that self-love, self-care conversation while getting the clinical CBT support as well.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Ta'Lor. This was a joy to share space with you and have this conversation today. So thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to another episode of Milk Minutes. We hope that you found this episode helpful, and remember that you can catch this replay and our previous episodes on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube, which is Healthy Start PGH. We go live at 6 p.m. every fourth Monday right here on Facebook. And finally, as we're talking about the Center for Urban Breastfeeding, also known as the CUB, remember that you can contact us. We're here to support, educate, advocate, and give outreach for Black women in Allegheny County. And you can call our certified lactation counselors at 412-545-2022. Select option 1, and one of our CLCs will be in touch with you. We're available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to midnight. So with that, thank you all so much, and we will catch you next month.
Bye, everybody.